Milling Through History presents Remembering Dad. When it comes to Father's Day, many people oftentimes look at it as just being a hallmark holiday. And they're not wrong. In fact, Father's Day has never tried to even go ahead and say it's anything but one. And yet, its origins are not necessarily found through Hallmark itself. Instead, there is a religious origin to Father's Day, as Catholic tradition has seen fathers being celebrated since the year 1508. Traditional celebration has been on March the 19th, which is the feast day of St. Joseph. As for Coptic Orthodox churches, they also celebrate St. Joseph's Day, but observe it on July the 20th. Now, for the Coptic faith, however, interestingly enough, their observance of Father's Day dates all the way back to the 5th century AD. But for the United States, when we think of Father's Day, it's primarily done as a complement to that of Mother's Day. Many attempts had been made to establish a Father's Day, but with rather limited success. The first real attempt would occur on July the 5th, 1908, in Fairmount, West Virginia. They would hold a Father's Day service at the behest of one Grace Golden Clayton. Her father had died in the Monaga mining disaster, and she had asked her pastor to create a sermon specifically to honor the fathers who had died during this mining accident. Her event was rather unsuccessful, namely due to the fact that the day before was the 4th of July, and no publicity was ever made about it. As for Clayton herself, she was an extremely quiet person and didn't want to talk about it with other people. It has, however, been generally believed that she may have been inspired by Anna Jarvis, who held a celebration for her mother in Grafton, West Virginia, only 15 miles away. In 1911, Jane Addams proposed an event in Chicago, but was turned down. And in 1912, Vancouver, Washington would hold a celebration and believed that they were actually the originators of Father's Day. Instead, however, Father's Day was founded by Sonora Smart Dodd in Spokane, Washington on June the 19th, 1911. Dodd was inspired for the Father's Day event by Anna Jarvis as well, as her father was, as in the case of Dodd, her father was a Civil War veteran and a single parent who had raised 6 children on his own. For her, she believed that the event should be held on June the 5th, which was her father's birthday. However, the pastors had told her that there was no way they could actually come up with a sermon that would go ahead and honor fathers in such a short period of time, and convinced her that it was best to push it back to the 3rd Sunday in June. Now, during the 1910s, Father's Day celebrations were remembered, especially thanks to the First World War. But by the 1920s, it had faded into almost near obscurity. By the 1930s, though, Sonora Dodd would come back and specifically try to promote the day by targeting the industries which manufactured gifts for Dad. The Father's Day Council would also work with Dodd to help with commercialization, citing the fact that even fathers needed recognition, and what better way to give them recognition by getting them the things that they really need. For many Americans, however, they resisted the idea of Father's Day, namely because they thought they were concerned about the commercial successes of Mother's Day and the fact that people were no longer actually more concerned about honoring their mothers, but rather buying gifts. However, the persistence of the Father's Day Council did pay off, as by the middle of the 1980s, Father's Day was seen as a second Christmas for the men's gift industry. But working on trying to ensure that Father's Day would not become some small-time little recognized event, in 1913, a bill had been introduced to Congress to recognize the actual holiday. In 1916, Woodrow Wilson would speak at a Father's Day celebration, but Congress would resist calls to go ahead and create the federal holiday as they feared commercialization. In 1924, Calvin Coolidge would recommend that the day be observed, but fell short on issuing a national proclamation. It wouldn't be until 1957 that Margaret Chase Smith of Maine would accuse Congress of ignoring fathers for 40 years while honoring mothers, thus singling out just one of our two parents. In 1966, Lyndon Johnson would issue the first presidential proclamation honoring fathers and designated the third Sunday in June as Father's Day. And in 1972, Richard Nixon would make the day as a permanent national holiday, thus ensuring that fathers would be recognized on a specific day. And in recent years, there has been efforts to change the name of Father's Day from that of being fathers to special person, citing the fact that not everyone has a father. And yet, if we were to go ahead and change the name of Father's Day, it does harken back to what Margaret Chase Smith had said, that by ignoring fathers, all we did was single out just one of two parents. As such, the name Father's Day still remains. Now be sure to click like, share, and subscribe for future episodes of Milling Through History, and leave comments below for future episode ideas. And we will see you next season.